स्वबद्धेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके
भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse 34. Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena
भगवान् ब्रह्मा कार्ष्णेन
Trir Anvikshya Manishaya
त्रिरन्वीक्ष्य मनीषया
Tad Adhyavasyat Kutasto
तद् अद्यवस्यत् कूटस्थो
Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet.
रतिरात्मन्यतो भवेत्
Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena
भगवान् ब्रह्म कार्ष्णेन
Trir Anvikshya Manishaya
त्रिरन्वीक्ष्य मनीषया
Tad Adhyavasyat
तद्
Kutasto
अद्यवश्यत् कूटस्थो
Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet.
रतिरात्मन्यतो भवेत्
Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena
भगवान् ब्रह्म कार्ष्णेन
Trir Anvikshya Manishaya
त्रिरन्वीक्ष्य मनीषया
Tad Adhyavasyat Kutasto
तद् अद्यवश्यत् कूटस्थो
Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet.
रतिरात्मन्यतो भवेत्
Yeah, please recite.
भगवान् ब्रह्म कार्ष्णेन
Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena
त्रिरन्वीक्ष्य मनीषया
Triranvikshya Manishaya
तद् अद्यावश्यत् कुतोस्थो
Tad Adhyavasyat Kutasto
रतिरात्मन्यतो भवेत्
Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charra Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Synonyms. Bhagavan, the great personality, Brahma.
भगवान् द ग्रेट पर्सनालिटी ब्रह्म
Brahma, the Vedas.
ब्रह्मा द वेदास
Karjnena, by summarization.
कार्ष्णेन बाय समराइजेशन
Traihi, 3 times.
त्राई 3 times
Anvikshya, scrutinizingly examined.
अनवीक्ष्य scrutinizingly examined
Manishaya, with scholarly attention.
मनीषया with scholarly attention
Tat, that.
that
Adhyavasyat, ascertained it.
अद्यवस्यत् ascertained
Kutastha, with concentration of the mind.
कूटस्थ with concentration of the mind
Ratihi, attraction.
ratihi attraction
Atmani, unto the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna.
Atmani unto the Supreme Personality of God, it's Sri Krishna.
Yataha, by which.
Yataha, by which.
Bhavet, it so happens.
Bhavet, it so happens.
Translation. The great personality Brahma,
the great personality Brahma,
with great attention and concentration of the mind,
with great attention and concentration of the mind,
studied the Vedas 3 times,
studied the Vedas 3 times,
and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion.
He ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion.
Purport.
Purport. Sri Sukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority. Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation, although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality of Godhead in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas. Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of God and Shri Krishna is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, directly presented by the personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Veda Vada Ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2.42.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamin Iti Namine Namo Acharya Padaya Nitaya Kripa Pradhayine Gaurakatha Dhamathaya Nagara Grama Tharine Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadhe Jaya Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Ram Hare Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hare Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudhanam Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangun Langayate Girim Yatkirpa Tamaham Vande Srui Gurum Dinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So, our Pratham Acharya in the Acharya Parampara, in the disciplic succession of perfected jivas, like starting from Brahma, and the Brahma being original Guru and the original creator, he is Pitamaha. And he has learned all the Vedas from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. And he has read it 3 times. In Kali Yuga, it is said that 3 times one should hear something to understand what is being said. But Brahma, he was not influenced by Kali, but owing to his submissive attitude and attentive hearing and analytically scrutinizingly, he has studied that for 3 times so that he would not commit a mistake. An Acharya is not commit any mistake. He is not under the influence of the 4 defects of human being. those who are conditioned soul. So Brahma is directly appointed by the Supreme Personality of God as the chief engineer of the entire universe for the secondary creation. And Brahma is taught in that science by the Supreme Personality of God directly. And this has happened only after Brahma, according to his time, 1000 years of yajna he performed. And Brahma knows only one yajna, as is the Prachama Acharya. And the yajna is the pure, unalloyed, loving devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He did that, and fully satisfied, the Supreme Lord presented himself before Brahma. And then he taught him all the entire creation and sub-creation and what Brahma has to do and what the living entities has to do after Brahma has created and let loose the living entity in the 8,400,000 species of bodies or yonis in 14 planetary system according to the Sunday conditioned soul's misuse of little freedom to accept one or combination of more than one mode of material nature as their master, and they surrender to Maya. Brahma has completely studied the Vedic injunction, Vedaiste sarve aham eva vedya. So the purpose of all the knowledge, all the Vedas, is to know Krishna. And how to know Krishna is also told, Bhaktya Maham Abhijanati. Only by pure devotional service, Krishna can be attained. And this is the conclusion of all the Vedas. You see, Brahma took a lot of time to understand, analyze, scrutinizingly, and find the conclusion in a very easy way that we all can easily perform. And Brahma has revealed it to Narada, Narada has revealed it to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva to Sukadeva Goswami, and so on. It is coming the disciplic succession, the same Brahma. When it appears to be lost 5,000 years ago, again Krishna Swayam came. And he has mentioned, Evam Parampara Praptam. See, this knowledge has been given to the Parampara Praptam. Evam Parampara Praptam, Brahma, Madhva, Gautiya, Vaishnava Sambradaya. So receive it through the Parampara. And Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Vedesha Sarve Rahmi Ebe Vedya. All the Vedic knowledge is meant, all the sacrifices are meant, all your Varnashrama Dharma principles are meant, all your activities and your involvement of gross and subtle body in the activities are meant to just please Krishna and to surrender unto him. And he also told straightforward the instruction in the 18th chapter as a conclusive of Srimad Bhagavad Gita that Sarva Dharman Parityecha Mamekam Sharanam Vracha. And in Bhagavatam also it is said that Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. The real Dharma is only surrendering unto Krishna. And what is surrendering unto Krishna is also explained in Bhagavatam. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje. All the living entities, paro dharma, the supreme dharma, supreme occupational duty is yato bhaktir adokshaje. Just to perform unalloyed, pure, loving devotion service unto adokshaja Krishna, who is beyond the Jadendriya, material blunt senses. Na bravet grahyam indriya. You cannot capture Krishna or you cannot know Krishna by dint of your material activities through the material senses. Bhaktya mama bijanati. Only through pure unalloyed loving devotion service can you get Krishna. And same Krishna came again back 500 years ago. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came as his own devotee in order to show us how to live Bhagavad Gita's instruction of Sarvadharman Parityecha Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, or for that reason, what this Brahma has concluded. So Brahma again came along with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Srila Haridas Thakura to teach us practically the conclusion of all the Vedas is nothing but start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare in this age of Kali. So this is a very beautiful, purport and the words. So let's go to the next words. Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu Lakshita Swatmana Hari Drishyair Buddhya Dibir Drashta Lakshaner Anumapakai Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu Lakshita Swatmana Hari Drishyair Buddhya Dibir Drashta Lakshaner Anumapakai. Bhagavan sarvabhuteshu lakshitha swatmana hari drishyair buddhyadibir drashta lakshanair anumapakai. Synonyms. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sarva, all, Bhuteshu, in the living entities, Lakshitha, is visible, Swa-Atmana, along with the self, Hari, the Lord, Drishyaihi, by what is seen, Buddhi Adibhi, by intelligence, Drashta, one who sees, Lakshanaihi, by different signs, Anumapakaihi, by hypothesis. So, translation. The personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized by our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Purport. The general argument of the common man is that since the Lord is not visible to our eyes, how can one either surrender unto him or render transcendental loving service unto him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami as to how one can perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present materialized senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of the Lord by a practical servile attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy, and such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence is the form, direction of the Paramatma, plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize. Even for the common man, the procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the leg, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels, but as such, the hand, the leg, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from other things that he sees. So, the natural conclusion is that the living being, either man or beast, is the seer, and he sees besides himself all other things. So, there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Now, by a little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations. Our senses of perception and of action, that is to say, our five perceptive senses, hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell, as well as our five senses of action, namely hands, legs, speech, evacuation organs, and reproductive organs, and also our three subtle senses, namely mind, consciousness, and ego. 13 senses in all are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross or subtle forms of natural energy, and it is equally evident that our object of perception are nothing but the products of the inexhaustible permutations and combinations of the forms taken by natural energy. As this conclusively proves that the ordinary living being has no independent power of perception or of motion, and as we undoubtedly feel our existence being conditioned by nature's energy, we conclude that he who sees is spirit, and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with the limited state of materially conditioned existence. That is the difference between spirit and matter. There are some less intelligent arguments that matter develops the power of seeing and moving as a certain organic development, but such an argument cannot be accepted because there is no experimental evidence that matter has anywhere produced a living entity. Trust no future, however pleasant. Idle talks regarding future development of matter into spirit are actually foolish, because no matter has ever developed the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. Therefore, it is definite that matter and spirit are two different identities. And this conclusion is arrived at by the use of intelligence. Now, we come to the point that the things which are seen by a little use of intelligence cannot be animate unless we accept someone as the user of or director of intelligence. Intelligence gives one direction like some higher authority, and the living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. When one fails to take advantage of intelligence, he becomes a deranged man, and so a living being is dependent on intelligence or the direction of a superior being. Such intelligence is all pervading. Every living entity has, every living being has its intelligence, and this intelligence, being the direction of some higher authority, is just like a father giving direction to his son. The higher authority, who is present and residing within every individual living being, is the super self. At this point in our investigation, we may consider the following question. On the one hand, we realize that all our perceptions and activities are conditioned by arrangements of material nature. Yet we also ordinarily feel and say, I am perceiving, I am doing. Therefore, we can say that our material senses of perception and action are moving because we are identifying the self with the material body, and that the superior principle of super self is guiding and supplying us according to our desire. By taking advantage of the guidance of superior self in the form of intelligence, we can either continue to study and to put into practice our conclusion that I am not this body, or we can choose to remain in the false material identification, fancying ourselves to be the possessors and doers. Our freedom consists in our training our desire either toward the ignorant material misconception or the true spiritual conception. We can easily attain to the true spiritual conception by recognizing the super self Paramatma to be our friend and guide, and by dovetailing our intelligence with the superior intelligence of Paramatma. The super self and the individual self are both spirit, and therefore the super self and the individual self are both qualitatively one and distinct from matter. But the super self and the individual self cannot be on an equal level, because the super self gives direction or supplies intelligence, and the individual self follows the direction, and thus actions are performed properly. The individual is completely dependent on the direction of the super self, because in every step the individual self follows the direction of the super self in the matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, and willing, etc. So far as common sense is concerned, we come to the conclusion that there are three identities, namely matter, spirit, and super spirit. Now, if we go to the Bhagavad Gita or the Vedic intelligence, we can further understand that all three identities, namely matter, individual spirit, and the super spirit, are all dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The super self is a partial representation or plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavad Gita affirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great, and he cannot be simply an order supplier of the individual selves. Therefore, the super self cannot be a full representation of the Supreme Self, Purushottama, the absolute personality of Godhead. Realization of the super self by the individual self is the beginning of self-realization, and by the progress of such self-realization, one is able to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by intelligence, by the help of authorized scriptures, and principally by the grace of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary conception of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a further explanation of the science of Godhead. So, if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of the director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree, like a bird sitting with another bird, as explained in Upanishads, certainly the purport of the revealed information in the Vedas becomes clear to our vision, and there is no difficulty in realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. The intelligent man, therefore, after many births of such use of intelligence, surrenders himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, this purport is a wonderful investigation report of the self. So, if you are the intelligent, you are the investigation officer, and your task assigned is to investigate yourself. Self-discovery, or truly analytically, scrutinizingly, individually, you try to analyze and find. And the first step of self-realization is the God realization, because when you have $100, $1 is already inside that. So you are the $1, and the $100 is the Supreme Self, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma. So if you you aim the star to reach the sky. When you try to scrutinizingly create an investigation report based on the revealed scriptures with a staunch faith and under the bona fide disciplic succession, you try to investigate yourself in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is called self-realization. So just like Hiranyakashipu, he was searching for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, while Rupa Goswami said, Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam, and Hiranyakashipu is Pratikulyena Krishna Anusilanam. So he was searching for Krishna to kill him. And Kamsa was searching for Krishna to kill him. Kamsa was also searching grossly. Hiranyakashipu was multi-million times superior to this Kamsa, because Hiranyakashipu had the mystic potency that he can enter even in Vaikuntha with the body that he has obtained, because his body was not obtained by any karma. His body was obtained by the will of the Supreme Lord in the Vaikuntha. As a Leela of Lord, he was one of the gatekeeper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the cults of the four Kumaras, Hiranyakashipu took the part of the cults as Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wanted him to come back as fast as possible. And the chance was given. So you're only in 3 births, but act as enemy, you can come back. So they took that path so that they cannot be separated from the Lord for a long time. And when he came as Hiranyakashipu, then he was in search of Vishnu, and he was searching everywhere. He has conquered all the 14 planetary systems by dint of his potency, and the whole world was trembling of fear out of him. And he was searching to kill Krishna or Vishnu, and he went to even Vaikuntha. He was seeing everywhere and everything above except within himself. So the Supreme Lord of Vaikuntha, he thought this Hiranyakashipu is in full power, both spiritually and materially, and he is trying to search, and his potency is so much that he will definitely find me, even if I am in Vaikuntha. And I am here in Vaikuntha. So he will definitely find me. So where is the place for me? I can hide so that his search will continue. So the Supreme Personality of God had thought that he is after all my devotee, and it's my part of my pastime that I sent him in this particular condition. So let me hide within his heart. So the Vaikuntha Pati has entered into the heart of Hiranyakashipu as soon as he entered Vaikuntha to search for Krishna. And having not found Krishna in Vaikuntha, he came back with anger in search of Krishna. So the beauty is that Hiranyakashipu is not able to see within himself, but he has seen everywhere, all over the material existence, plus even in the Vaikuntha in search of Krishna. So this shows that we, as a self-realization process personalities, we see everything with our blunt eyes. We see everything except ourselves. So the seer and the seen are two different things. We are the seer by using the material facilities. We are seeing everything other than ourselves and the Supreme Personality as Paramatma within ourselves. So this is the investigation report if you try to analyze about self. I am not this body. I am not my hand. I am not my head. I am not my chest. I am not my leg. I am not my eyes. So I am not any of this body. That means I am not this body. But still, I am trying to see everything through the body. Just like you are wearing a red glass, everything would look red. So our eyes are the Googles for our original self, and putting the materialistic alignment, we are seeing everything material and seeing self as material. So this is not real seeing. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santarshadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. How to see? Brahma has seen the truth. All acharyas have seen the truth. Jnaninas tattva darshinaha, and they teach us how to see the truth. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. The Bhaktyamam Abhijanati means the love, ointment of love. Eye ointment should be the love of Krishna. Ointment you have to apply. Prema Anchana Churita Bhakti Vilochana. Bhakti. Prema Anchana Bhakti. So by pure unalloyed loving devotional service only, you can see Krishna. So that is the way of seeing, not by this blunt eyes. So unless otherwise you see Krishna, anyway you cannot see yourself. Bali Maharaj, when the Vamanadev came, till he has completely surrendered, he could not see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was stick to his words and teachings of his spiritual master Prahlad Maharaj. He denied the teachings of Sukracharya as soon as Sukracharya asked him to deny Vishnu. And he accepted the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, as Prahlad Maharaj is his actual spiritual master. So when he has completely surrendered Atma Nivedanam, he was seeing Lord Krishna or Vishnu, and in that Vishnu Dutas are fighting with the demons, and in that Vishnu Duta, he is seeing himself is also fighting against the demons, who were his own soldiers here. So this is called seeing. So one should see himself only by seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first step in self-realization is to try to perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead or supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Try to see Krishna everywhere. So this is the process of bhakti. How can you try to see everywhere? That also Sukadeva Goswami is explaining very beautifully in this Srimad Bhagavatam. How to see that which you cannot see normally. So the process is devotional service. So start from chanting Hare Krishna. So in this way, 9 different devotional service, when you try to practice, you will perceive Krishna, because Krishna Swayam Eva Spurat Yada Sevan Mukehi Jihvadao. So with your tongue, when you begin your devotional service by chanting Hare Krishna, reading Srimad Bhagavatam or speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam through ears, and eating prasadam, tasting palatable prasadam through the tongue. So these are all the means by which you begin seeing Krishna, perceiving Krishna. In this way, your self-realization also will become very successful. So like that, every living entity is expected to create an investigation report about the self, respect to in conjunction with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the help of the bona fide parampara and the revealed scriptures, which shows the signs of the soul and signs of the God. The signs of the soul and signs of the God is very, very clearly explained in Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are all the 2 scriptures everyone need to study and understand. And this is the process of self-realization. And this very beautifully in the purport Prabhupada is explained. In fact, there's no explanation to what Prabhupada has already explained in the purport. If anyone is trying to explain like me, that would be like cloud covering the sun. Prabhupada has given everything, like sunlight in this particular purport about the investigation, how we should process. So we'll go to the next verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse 36. तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च
श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च
श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
ओ कृष्ण श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च
श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
Yeah, please do recite.
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
तस्मात् सर्वात्मना राजन्
सर्वत्र सर्वदा
हरि सर्वत्र सर्वदा
श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च
श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम्
स्मर्तव्यो भगवान् नृणाम् Synonyms. Tasmat, therefore.
तस्मात् therefore
नहीं मालूम मम्मी रात में 2 दिन
Sarva, all.
सर्व all
Atmana, soul.
आत्मना
Rajan, O king.
राजन्
Hari, the Lord.
हरि the Lord
Sarvatra, everywhere.
सर्वत्र everywhere
Sarvada, always.
सर्वदा always
Shrotavya, must be heard.
श्रोतव्य must be heard
Kirtitavya, glorified.
कीर्तितव्य glorified
Cha, also.
च also
Smartavya, be remembered.
स्मर्तव्य be remembered
Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead.
भगवान the personality of Godhead
Nranam, by the human being.
renowned by the human being
Translation. Please repeat after me. O king,
O king
it is therefore essential that
it is therefore essential that
every human being
every human being
hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere.
Hereabout glorify and remember the
Supreme
Supreme
Lord,
Lord,
personality of
the
Godhead,
personality of
always and
Godhead,
everywhere.
always and everywhere.
Airport.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmat or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of bhakti yoga. The bhakti yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of bhakti yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, he should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish. He becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. Machinery is not bad because through the machine, one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear because the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Saraswati Thakur, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ, and others have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatan Dharma or Bhagavad Dharma. Sanatan means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavat means pertaining to Bhagavan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and all space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The world includes all the remaining processes or methods of Bhakti Yoga as mentioned above.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Very, very beautiful words, very significant wordings are repeated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hari, Sarvatra, Sarvada. These are not ordinary words. These are all the words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly to Brahma. When Brahma was explained, when he is starting the parampara, Srotavya Kirtitavyascha, we have learned this, and many lectures we have quoted this, that this is the duty that is in Srimad Bhagavatam, even the first canto, I think in second chapter. So this particular verdicts are quoted. If you see, Srotavya Kirti Tavyascha Dheya Pudyascha Nityada. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1 to chapter 2, verse 14, it is mentioned. And there it is mentioned with one-pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of all the devotees. And the same is as a conclusion to Parikshit Maharaj at the time of death. Here again, it is explained by Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And Sarvatra Sarvada. This is also not ordinary. Sarvatra Sarvada means the purpose of the living entity is to search in all circumstances, in all places, in all bodies, at all times, only Guru and Krishna. You have to only search for it. That's the only duty of the fallen conditioned soul. Put in other words, Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is what is mentioned in both the particular statement. Very, very beautiful. So the Sukadeva Goswami concludes the business of the living entity is to always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every circumstance. So the Lord should be heard about, glorified, and remembered by all human beings. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshate. So that's the supreme occupation of every living entity, that they should do srotavya kirti tavyascha. And they should do it sarvatra sarvadha, in every circumstances, in every situation, in every life, in every second of his each life, in every body that he takes up, in every planet that he lives. There is not any one exception. Every time Kirtaniya Sadari, always sarvatra sarvadha. Just try to always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every circumstance. So this is a very beautiful stanza that repeatedly said. And that is the beginning of Krishna consciousness movement also. Simply to hear and chant about Krishna and remember him always. Then you are safe. You are nothing to be disturbed. Your life is safe. Your next life is assured. Very good life. And it is very simple. By simply chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is called Sarvatya Sarvadha. Srotavya Kirti Tavyascha. So this is what is wanted. Very conclusion is so beautiful. In the beginning also, it was beautiful, and the conclusion is also very beautiful by Sukadeva Goswami. So let us go to the next verse, which probably the last verse, yes, of this particular chapter. So we will conclude with this chapter. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse 37. Pibanti ye bhagavata atmanas satam.
पिबन्ति ये भगवत आत्मनः सताम्
Sataam.
Kathamritam savanaputheshu samritam.
कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम्
Sambritam.
Punanti te vishaya vidushitashayam.
पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम्
Svayam.
Vrajanti tacharana saroruhantikam.
Vrajanti.
तच्चरणसरोरुहान्
Antikam.
Pibanti ye bhagavata atmanas satam.
पिबन्ति ये भगवत आत्मनः
Atmanah
सताम्
Satam.
Kathamritam shravanaputheshu samritam.
कथामृतं श्रवणपुतेषु संवृतम्
Punanti te vishaya vidushitashayam.
पुनन्ति ते
Jaya Vidushitashayam.
स्वयं
Vrajanti tacharana saroruhantikam.
व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम्
Pibanti ye bhagavata atmanas satam.
पिबन्ति ये भगवत आत्मनः सताम्
Satam.
Kathamritam shravanaputheshu samritam.
Katham.
कथामृतं श्रवणपुतेषु संवृतम्
Punanti te vishaya vidushitashayam.
पुनन्ति ते
Jaya
विषयविदूषिताशयम्
Vidushitashayam.
Vrajanti tacharana saroruhantikam.
व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम्
Antikam.
Yes, please recite.
पिबन्ति ये भगवत आत्मना सताम्
पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मना सताम्
अमृतं श्रवणपुतेषु संवृतम्
कथामृतं श्रवणपुतेषु संवृतम्
पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम्
पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम्
व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम्
व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम्. Synonyms. Pibanti, who drink.
पिबन्ति who drink.
Those.
Those.
Bhagavata, the personality of Godhead.
Bhagavat, of the personality of Godhead.
Atmana, of the most dear.
Atmana, of the most dear.
Satham, of devotees.
Satham, of devotees.
Kathamritam, the nectar of the messages.
Kathamritam, nectar of the messages.
Shravana Puteshu, with the ear holes.
Shravana Puteshu,
within the ear holes.
Samrutam, fully filled.
Samritam, fully
filled.
Punanti, purify.
Punanti, purify.
Te, there.
Stay there.
Vishaya, material enjoyment.
Vishaya, material enjoyment.
Vidushita ashayam, polluted aim of life.
Vidushita ashayam, polluted aim of life.
Vrajanti, to go back.
Prajanti,
go back.
Tat, the Lord's.
Tat, the
Lord's.
Charana, feet. Saroruha antikam, near the lotus.
Saroruha near the lotus.
Translation, please repeat after me. Those who drink through oral reception.
Those who drink through oral reception.
Fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees.
Fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna,
the beloved of the devotees.
Purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment.
Purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment.
And thus go back to Godhead.
And thus go back to Godhead.
To the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead.
To the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead.
Purport.
The sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord, and thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc. in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or use steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Sukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada has commented on the Kathamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life namely lording it over matter, will subside. And the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life, knowledge, and bliss. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, quality, interest, etc. are all pleasing. And because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavan, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. And by the constant hearing of the message, and by the constant hearing of the messages of the Bhagavad Gita and later of Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Sukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render him transcendental loving service in the spiritual planet of the name Goloka Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, directly accepted as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without once attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material engagement. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Lord in the Heart.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Very beautifully Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. So, conclusively, Srila Sukadeva Goswami wanted to answer Parikshit Maharaj that what one should do and one should not at the time of death. Because everybody is in the time of death. Everybody is going to die within next 100 years now. Not one person will be living after 100 years of those who are living now. This is for sure. So this is a very serious question that Parikshit Maharaj has asked in the beginning of this chapter, the previous chapter, that what one should do at the time of death. He was not asking for himself. He was asking for us because he is the emperor of the whole planet. So he cares everyone and he is the Raja Rishi. He is not only a king or emperor, he is also a pure devotee. For him, there is no fear of death. Even as a Kshatriya, he doesn't fear death. Even materially speaking, he doesn't fear death. What to speak of? He is a self-realized pure devotee of Krishna. So Krishna has selected him for delivering Srimad Bhagavatam to us. Just like Krishna has selected Arjuna to deliver the, Bhagavad Gita to us. So this Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam engages in the pure unalloyed loving devotional service. And this is the science of Krishna. So this is to be taught to everyone. And conclusively, in the beginning of the question, answering the question of Parikshit Maharaj, as well as at the end of this chapter also, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he is, concluding that Bhakti Yoga is the only way. All the karma, jnana, yoga, everything should lead to ultimately Bhakti only. So anything that leads to Bhakti is called a yoga. And when it is coming to Bhakti Yoga, this is pure Bhakti Yoga. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So what is this particular Bhakti Yoga? Srila Rupa Goswami has explained in Nectar of Devotion, and in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining the same thing in the Madhya Leela. So long we have Upadhi, like I am Indian, I am engineer, I am girl, I am boy, I am Kshatriya, I am Brahmana, I am Shudra, I am black, I am white. These are all called Upadhi. So because this is all bodily designation. And this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all these designations, it's just to provide a systematic progress of human life. But actually, when you want to become a pure devotee, by association of a pure devotee, and under that pure devotee, when you perform devotional service or practice devotional service, then you become a pure devotee yourself. And when you become a pure devotee, then you are above all these things, the material designation. Chandalo api dvijo sreshto hari bhakti parayana. Even one is a Chandala. If he becomes a pure devotee, then he becomes even better than a Brahmana because he raised about material conception of life. So, pure Bhakti Yoga means Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. One has to be free from all designation. Those who are Krishna consciousness, following this Krishna consciousness movement, they naturally they don't remember that they are eternal servant of Krishna. When they come in contact with ISKCON or Krishna consciousness movement, then they started practicing this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, hearing about Krishna from the bona fide souls. Then that bhakti is coming. So they know that now they are eternal servant of Krishna. That is pure bhakti. Sarva upadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. This is called freedom. Nirmalam means mukti. Mukti, mala means dirty things. Material is called mala. So long we are enwrapped with the dirty things, there is no bhakti. Tat paratvena nirmalam. When this nirmala, when dirty things are washed away, you remain in pure spiritual life. So the purification process is washing away this mala and we become nirmala. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is Amala Purana, not Mala. Amala, no Mala. So we are hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then naturally you will remain in the pure spiritual life or spiritual body. Then the Indriyas, the senses what you have got, so these senses are also purified to spiritualize. Purifying means spiritualizing. Spiritualizing everything, like an aluminum plate is a material, but as soon as you touch an electric wire, the whole plate is electrified. Similarly, when you come in contact with a Krishna conscious person and literature, person Bhagavata and book Bhagavata, you become electrified or you become Krishnafied. So you become Bhakta, you become purified. So that is called purification. Otherwise, it is said Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam, because Indriya means Hrishika. The senses are purified by coming in contact with the devotional service. Not that senses are gone. Senses are there, but it is purified. The aluminum plate is there, but it acts as a source of electricity now because it is electrified. So in the similar way, it will not act as aluminum. It will act as electric current. As soon as the electric wire is connected there with the current passing in that. So in the similar way, as soon as you come in contact with book Bhagavatam or Bhakta Bhagavatam and you practice your devotional service, then you are not doing the normal materialistic person who is doing. Whatever you are doing, aluminum plate is aluminum plate, but that acts as a source of electricity. So you will be acting as a Bhakti yogi. So you will be performing your activities in the platform of Bhakti. Your senses are not gone, but your senses are purified. So just like, if you have got cataract in the eye, and you cannot see anything, that doesn't mean nothing is existing. But if it is operated, the cataract is taken away, not the eye is taken away. Cataract is taken away. Eyes must remain there. Then what is the use of treatment if the eye is taken away? So similarly, our senses, at the present moment, they are contaminated. You have to make it purified. You have to make it purified, not remove the senses or stop the senses from the activities. No, that is nonsense. Okay, we want sense to be purified. So tat paratvena nirmalam. So that is purified. Then Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So with the purified senses, when you serve Krishna, that is called Bhakti. Bhakti is not ordinary thing. Bhakti Yoga is a conclusive statement. You have to understand that. You have to practice it under training. Everybody coming to ISKCON, taking a bona fide spiritual master, is put under the training in the Bhajana Kriya state, so that Anartha Nivriti will go. All the misgivings will be washed off and your senses will get gradually purified. Then you will understand Sambandha Jnana, the relationship with the Supreme. You and the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, has a personal, private relationship. What type of relationship do you have? You will get that particular jnana, and then you practice it based on that particular jnana. So you will get the prayojana, love of God. So that is the purpose of Hrishikena, Hrishikesha Sevanam, or the Bhakti Yoga, which is the conclusion of all the questions. Also, specifically the questions of Parishit Maharaj, also the conclusion of this particular chapter in the second canto. Thank you very much. So we'll start our third chapter on Monday. So meanwhile, anybody has any questions or comments or realization, please do share with us.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, is it okay for you to give a short summary of this chapter? I totally missed it. I'll go back and try to hear the lectures you gave, but till then, just to get a brief idea what it is about, in brief, 2-3 minutes, can you just let me know what was spoken in the chapter?
Yeah, sure. So
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Actually, the original thing in the first 3 chapters, we are only done 2 chapters. Where the second chapter is the Lord in the heart, and the first chapter is the first step in God realization. These are all given as an answer to Parishit Maharaj's question about what is the best for one who is about to die. This is the question asked by Parishit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami. And immediately Sukadeva Goswami started answering that one may be a materialist person or bhakti yogi or any yogi. One should chant and worship the Lord. One can get success only by if they remember the Lord at the time of death. That means bhakti yoga. So that was the conclusive statement. Actually, in Canto 1, in last chapter, that is chapter 1, the first canto, last chapter is 19th chapter. In that, at the end of 19th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj was asking that what is the way of perfection for all persons and especially for one who is about to die? What a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. This the question asked by Parikshit Maharaj. Immediately in the second chapter, second canto, Sukadeva Goswami started answering. And when he is answering, the first 3 chapters are dedicated to the answer to the Parikshit Maharaj. And we are in the conclusive statement of the second chapter. So he says that doubtless and fearless way of success for all is constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. So this is what is the conclusion. But during that time, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says about different yoga system, Parikshit Maharaj was also narrated about different yogis, Hatha Yogi, Ashtanga Siddhi Yogi, how he meditates, how he poses, how he sits, how he controls the senses, how he concentrates on the Paramatma feature. So in this way, very tough way of attaining the Supreme is also explained, and also by the karma yogis, the karma khandis, the jnana yogis, the jnanis, everything was explained by Sukadeva Goswami, and conclusively he says that the real thing that brings into success is only the bhakti yoga. By using the jnana yoga or jnani, karma yoga or karma khanda, or Ashtanga Siddhi Yoga or Hatha Yoga, all this process will end after many difficulties and a long duration of times and janmas you have passed. You will conclude only the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So, Sukadeva Goswami wanted to tell that you don't need to undergo all those austerities and tapasya and impossible things and putting yourself into that. Simply accept the Bhakti Yoga that you are not the body, you are spirit soul, you are servant of Krishna. Chanting, remembering, hearing about the glories and pastimes of the Lord and chanting the holy name of the Lord. Book Bhagavata and person Bhagavata association are the only means to attain successful for all, including one who is at the verge of death. Because Ante Narayana Smriti, he said, at the time of death, if you don't remember Krishna, then what is the use of all your jnana khanda, karma khanda, upasana khanda, hatha yoga system, all these things you are doing. But at the time of death, if you fail to do that, what is the use of all those things? So better you leave it. There is no guarantee that you will remember Krishna at the time of death if you follow the karma yoga, jnana yoga, or hatha yoga, or ashtanga yoga. You will not be guaranteed, because you will be again misdirected into the flowery words of Vedas and start enjoying the materialistic things. So best thing is, from the beginning, you directly engage in the devotional service. Rather than, you don't need to be anything to come into contact of devotional service. So he was telling that, Parishit, you have 7 days to die. Okay. But Katwanga was a king who had only 1 moment to die. And he immediately, he's a Raja Rishi, like you. But he had much less time than you. He was only having 1 moment to die at the time of, because he was fighting for the Devas with all the Asuras, and long time has passed. And when the Devas are very satisfied because he has defeated all the Asuras and protected the Devas, being a Manushya king, he did that. He was better than Devas to kill Asuras. That much powerful he was, because he was a Raja, a Rishi. So he did that. And after a long time, when the Devas were very pleased and asked him, please ask for a benediction. We are very pleased with your performance and helping us out of the way you came and you fought which is not your duty, but still you have come and fought for us and you protected us, you saved us. So please tell us what you want. We would like to give you some benedictions. Then he was only asking one question, that how much portion of my life is balance remaining in my life? So they said, only 1 moment you're going to live. Immediately he left everything and renounced everything, just like Parishit Maharaj left everything and renounced and came to his spiritual master. So he has immediately given up everything and meditated upon Krishna, and he achieved success. So in order to encourage Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami was telling that, what to speak of you, you are having 7 days and 7 nights time, but that Katwanga had only 1 moment. Even he could achieve success. So this is not very difficult. As soon as you are coming in contact with the bona fide spiritual master, you have nothing to fear. So you will be able to be doing what you're supposed to do at the time of death. So this is what exactly he was trying to tell, that ultimately the best thing is only Bhakti Yoga and not Jnana Yoga or any other Karma Yoga or Hatha Yoga. Those things will not help. So that is the summary. In summary, he was telling about all other processes of the mystic yogi, how he is attaining perfection and how everyone is attaining, how the karmi, how the jnani, what they do. All these things he is telling. But conclusively, he tells that the only hearing about, glorify, chant the mantra of Hare Krishna's name and his glories. That's all. That is the conclusion. So this is how the 2 chapters, especially the 2nd chapter, is ending.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions or comments, so let's wind up and resume the 3rd chapter of the 2nd canto on Monday. Till then, Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Patita Pavan Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Vaishnav Pranam. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय। निताय गौर प्रेम।